Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Bonjour, babies. Bonjour, babies. Bonjour, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Bonjour. How's everybody doing?
How are you doing?
Tired.
Filled with bread?
Oh, my God. I ate
bread
terrible.
and butter?
What a terrible week to eat.
At least it was fresh, though.
I love France. I really enjoyed it there. The cuisine is not in my diet.
Oh, really?
No.
Wait, in like a bad way? Or just...
really bad way.
Hold on, wait.
The cheese, the butter, the cream,
no,
the bread,
okay, but not
the
like...
croissants, the chocolate bread, it's pain de chocolat. It was a whole thing.
I just needed the
I'm
distinction
not meaning to make fun of them. I enjoyed it. I actually came out thinking, oh, God.
Yeah, okay. That's what, I thought you were saying like terrible food. I was like, are you kidding me?
No, well, we could have a discussion about that. But just terrible for me is really
that's
the
what
larger.
I was getting at. Okay.
The interesting part is there's not many fat French people, so I think it's because they just walk around so much. That's probably what it is. Yeah, I like that part. I like the smoking. I don't take part in that part. I like the drinking. I don't take part in that. I mean, they're just drinking all day.
Yeah,
it's great.
Right,
great lifestyle.
Of course, yeah.
We
Everything's more chill over there.
Way chill.
Not just them, like everybody.
Everybody.
Every country.
You know who the Americans are. And you can pick them out.
Yeah, because they're walking fast, coffee on the go, all of it. Yeah.
You know, they're getting mad real fast.
Yep, of course.
Just mad real fast.
Yeah.
I ordered a coffee. Yeah. And it's like, I know. Yeah. Like, we'll get it.
Chill
out. You don't have anything to do.
Be cool, honey bunny.
Yeah. You don't have anything to do. You're not here. Like, what? When are you going to miss something? I like that attitude.
Is this off experience? Did you see someone get mad?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like I hated him, too. I'm like looking, I'm like, dude, you got that
Karen.
right? Oh,
you say Karen in French.
Yeah, how do you say it? Le Caron? Yeah, Le Caron. There's a lot of Le Caron, especially with Taylor Swift in town. A lot of Le Carons going on out there.
Would
yeah,
imagine
I have an affinity for them now because I like this. Like,
man, I haven't heard you speak of this lifestyle since like Vegas. I think it's like Vegas is the one you rave about, but this one actually already.
This is a little more older age. I'm going, you know what? Like, I like
chill.
this. It's just chill. Nobody's in a major rush.
Yeah.
You know, smoke and drink all day, whatever.
Right,
they don't care. Like, we stayed in an Airbnb. There was a bagel place next to us. It didn't open till 10. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Just think about that for a second. Just consider that for a moment.
Yeah.
You have a bagel place.
Breakfast, yeah.
It doesn't open until 10. Why? Like, it doesn't even... Why? Like, why are you in business? And it's because nobody's up at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Huh.
Like, they're not rushing to go to work there.
Got it.
Not in my neighborhood, at least.
That must be nice.
Must be nice. And I'm like, well, how are they making any money? But the place is packed at 11.
Right, exactly.
Because that's when everybody gets up, gets the coffee, has a couple butts, and then it's time for the bagel.
Wait, what's the bagel like? What's the bagel situation?
It was okay.
Okay, all right.
I'm sure it was run by an American. It was okay.
From Bethesda Bagel to New York Bagel. What's the scale?
No, it was below. It was below Bethesda. Oh, by far.
Okay.
Was it? Right. I have actually a high. I got a high ranking on Bethesda Bagel.
Yeah, Bethesda Bagel and Call Your Mother, I think, are like two very strong spots.
Really good bagels.
Yeah.
They're really high end good ones. There's a couple others here now too, like smaller, just shops. But like this was way below that.
Okay.
It was good.
It
was just way below that.
It was like that in
but
Montreal.
Like, you're not gonna find a croissant around here that tastes like the ones.
Of
we
course
had
not.
over there.
No, God.
They're laughing at you.
Yeah,
they're just laughing at you.
No, because I was gonna. I think we had this discussion off the air one time. Like I had the Montreal bagels, and they're like sweet. It's just a different animal.
They're more sweet. Actually, I think what people don't know is when I don't know why we're gonna do this, but like when you do make bagels, things like sugar and honey go in them.
Right. Yes.
Now in the Montreal ones, they put a little too much.
It's on the outside too. Like it's like they dip it in something.
Yes. It's why the bagels taste sweet because there's honey in them.
Yeah.
In most of them, or some kind of sweetener in them, which in most breads there's not.
Right.
So, Jewish theories, if you want to know, that's how they're made.
All right,
anyway,
and so that's the food wise.
Food. So food. Okay, so we're in the touristy part of Paris.
Right.
Okay.
McDonald's, little McDonald's action.
I actually would liken a lot of these bistros to, they're just catering to all, and they all sell the same things, and half of them I don't want.
Okay.
I don't want French onion soup.
Right.
I don't want snails. The steak and fries are all fine, but you could go down to the place on MacArthur Boulevard or Opied down in DuPont.
Medium rare.
It's as good.
Medium rare does it great.
Medium rare is better than most of the places we went to, but I'm going with their catering to the dummies.
Right.
Who are willing to, go there and just order the one of five things.
French onion soup in France.
I don't know.
Come on.
My wife did.
No!
Three times.
Come on.
We had crepes 5 times. We were like the idiots.
That one I can get.
Those were delicious.
Yeah, that one
All of the bread products, it's like they can't screw them up.
Correct.
They're just, they're amazing. Like they can't screw them up. And they're better than what you've had. But I would say most of the meals we had in the French restaurants were like average at best, honestly.
Okay.
Average at best.
Right.
And it's the style of cuisine that I'm avoiding these days. Like large amounts of carbohydrates, really rich sauces, cream, butter. Like, that fish tastes amazing because it's drowning in cream and butter.
It's covered, yeah.
Yeah. And so, but otherwise, though, everything was great. Paris is wonderful. Paris is maybe the most beautiful city I've ever been to. I'd never been there before. We did the whole tourist thing. We went to the Louvre.
Yep.
We went to Museum d'Orsay, which is the famous one with all the Impressionists. So you can go see Van Gogh and Manet's and Renoir's and all that. So like the real ones. And you're like, oh my God, that's Starry Night.
Yep.
There's the Thinker, all that stuff. The culture art scene is incredible. Just absolutely incredible. The city is something out of a movie set. Sure. It's just so beautiful and amazing. And then we got to see Taylor Swift. And that was something. That was really something. And I know nobody wants to hear about this because we're doing a sports radio show, but I will tell you, it's worth every penny.
Okay. All right.
It is.
It's a lot coming from you.
This woman was on stage for 3 hours straight. Mm-hmm. Straight. And you realize the volume of her hits when she does that. Every song she played. Right. We also got lucky because she put out a new album in between the end of the North American tour or Asia and then this. So this was her first show. We went to the first. It wasn't planned that way, but we got tickets to what ended up being the first show of her European tour. Right. So we saw her perform songs off of this new album, and it was the first time she'd ever done it.
Do you have paper tickets, or they're all digital?
No, they were digital, but because we had to buy the VIP package, we got these fake me out paper tickets that did not have the actual date of the show.
Damn it.
They were the stock, VIP tickets. And the one thing I would say to Taylor, you're in Europe. Update the merch.
Yeah, right.
Put something in French on it or write European
Just
tour.
Write the dates. The dates is the easiest thing
to
do.
All of it. Well, actually, there were T-shirts that had the dates on them. There were that.
Well, I mean,
but
specific, for the city.
What I was hoping, because I knew my kids would buy stuff.
No bootlegs?
I'm like,
no bootlegs?
We didn't buy any bootlegs. We spent enough at the real merch net. Trust me. It was all the stuff you've seen everywhere else.
Yeah, right.
Like, I would like to have seen Taylor Swift Eras Tour, but Eras Tour written in French, which I thought would have been really cool if they did that. But they didn't, and they're not suffering for business.
Of course not. No.
That was maybe the most insane thing I've ever seen. But lines to get her merchandise on the day of the show, you would have thought that there was something special about this, and there really wasn't. Right. And these people spent hours in line just trying to buy a sweatshirt.
Right, exactly.
And it's all the sweatshirts you've seen for the last year when she's done. There's nothing new about it. That was the craziest thing.
I hope there's a documentary on the logistics of all of this because it never runs out either.
I don't know how that is. She had 4 shows there, and I don't know. We were going in and then walking out, seeing the lines outside after the show, and I'm sitting there going, "How do they have anything left?"
Right. Well,
where is this stuff?
Well, because they probably
what warehouse do you have?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they every city they must contract somebody and go, "You're our factory."
Yeah.
Until we're out of here. And they're just around the clock printing whatever they need them to print. That's my guess is what that one is.
I'm so glad we did it. I mean, I do, now that I've experienced it, I do feel like we saw a historic tour. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And maybe another one will come along soon, but I can't name the artist it would be. And it feels like, when I was a kid, the closest thing to this was Michael Jackson when he was at the height of his popularity and started touring around the world. And it was like this. Everywhere he went, it was impossible to get in, impossible to get tickets. I bet you it was the same thing it was with this. It's easier to get tickets to her in Europe than it is in America because the demand isn't as high, yet it's all sold out. And it was a global audience there. We saw people from around the world in this place. So we weren't the only, there were a lot of Americans there. There were a lot of Canadians there. And then you would just see all these people from all over the world. And my favorite part of it really was just the crowd itself was just fun. Like everybody was there for a good time. Everybody brought in these bracelets and they were trading with one another. It was all love. It was really great. And I think it's the thing she should be most proud of is that it's not even just that she's popular. It's that she's popular for every right reason.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
People just love her and like want to share that love with everybody else. And it really was an amazing, amazing event. My daughter may fail high school because of this now, but I'm hoping she will forgive me.
She's going to fail.
We got some crass phone calls from their high school by the end of the week going like, where is she? What's up?
You guys didn't...
We warned them for months.
Right.
I told them in December, I said, this is happening. She's been telling all her teachers, this is happening. What can I do? Right. And we still got, the message didn't get through to the administration. And we got these very harsh emails and phone calls going like, did you know your daughter has not been here for
the old skip? They thought she was skipping, not actually out of class. Okay.
Oh, no, they were yelling at us too. Like, and if you've known about this, you really should have told us about it. And we're like,
here's the receipts.
We did. Like, we did. We know you have 3,000 people in this school. And you couldn't keep up with her, and she's a freshman. But for crying out loud, please don't fail her. Like, I do want her to go to college. So she's got some making up to do this week.
Which that happens.
Paris was just amazing. I'm so glad it was there. And then I've thought about this. What's the first concert you ever went to? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember the exact concert. It was July 2003, Springsteen in New Jersey.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Life-changing.
Mine was the Bangles. So, and most people are like me. They've got
like an Egyptian.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
What's their other song? I don't know.
That's it. That's it. But that happened to be, at whatever age I was, 13 or whatever, the first concert I ever went to was the Bangles. And everybody's got their own story.
Sure.
When someone asks my son, what is the first concert you've ever seen? He's going to say Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour in Paris. So I'm like, you're welcome,
you're
dude.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
You're welcome. You can't wait till somebody asks you that question when you're 40 years old because it's the best answer you could possibly give.
Yeah, of course.
So the trip was really amazing. Thank you for being patient with me. I know a lot happened. Jaden showed up.
That's right.
Dan Quinn wore an interesting shirt.
That happened over the weekend. You didn't miss that.
True.
You didn't miss that breakdown.
I was back for that one.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to get to the shirt in a little bit.
I was gonna tell you though, because the Twitter freak out happened during the show, I literally was on the air when you were at the concert. So I literally was saying, hey, Bram's at Taylor Swift right now last week because that's
because we were 6 hours ahead. That's right.
Even my timeline was like, she's singing this, and I'm like, I don't know how you people freak out about a concert halfway around the world, but here we are.
It was really astounding. I mean, I've never seen anyone go on stage for that long. It was really Paramore opened. Paramore played it was right on time, 6:30 French time. She started. She played for almost an hour. Got off.
They're great. Yeah.
Before 8 o'clock, Taylor Swift was on. They did this cool thing. They did a countdown to her coming on, which I thought was a really cool thing to do. She comes out and she played straight for 3 hours.
Insane.
With a few costume changes and interludes, but I mean short 1 to 2 minute interludes for costume change. Set up the new era.
Yeah.
And then she came back out and played 4 or 5 songs from that, and then did it again. And this went on for 3 hours straight, and I couldn't. Next time
you're doing that cardio, you think about that.
The cardio, yeah. Well, it was funny. My wife was like, "Who does this?" And I go, "The football games I call are 3 hours." And she was like, "Well, you get breaks." And I go, "I can't win here." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Right? Yeah.
She's not yelling and screaming like I am.
That's true. Fair. I mean, she is
the
singing.
There's emotional highs and lows with mine too. Okay, when Payne punches Allen. That doesn't happen at the Taylor Swift concert.
That's true.
It
doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. The pick 6 Cam Curl, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen at the Taylor Swift concert.
It's true.
You can go on set list and find out what's going to happen at her concert. I don't know what's going to happen.
I love how you defend your craft to a Taylor Swift concert.
When Rod is uncertain if we can be in the playoffs or not, it doesn't happen at the Taylor Swift concert.
When they're not.
It doesn't happen at the Taylor Swift concert. When Carson Wentz gets put in for no good reason against the 49ers, that doesn't happen at the Taylor Swift concert. So I want some credit for dealing with the real-time things that happen over 3 hours. And then it was the best. She was like, God, she must be so beat. I don't know how she's doing this tomorrow. And I go, now you understand when I come home at about 8 o'clock at night after one of those games, why I can't talk to anybody.
Right, yeah.
Okay?
Right, exactly.
Okay?
You emptied the battery out, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Let's see. What else happened? Well, this happened over the weekend. The Wizards did get the number 2 overall pick.
Yes. Yes.
I felt like it was fitting I was in France because I think it's going to be a Frenchman.
Yeah,
and he's going to join Bilal.
Yeah, again.
So we're going to have the French connection here, it sounds like.
Apparently.
Right?
I think 2 is also actually their best case scenario. I know everybody was like, oh, they could get 1, whatever. This does not put the level of pressure on whoever they get on number 2.
Did I read this right? Well, I felt that way from the get-go. Did I read this right that they were 1 ping pong ball away again? That's the second year in a row.
I didn't see that, actually.
I saw someone tweet that. I wasn't sure if that was true, but like someone put out there this was the second year because they just missed Wemby last year. The odds were actually low last year because they didn't have the record that they had, but they missed it by 1 ping pong ball.
Right.
World would be different now if it went the other way. Apparently, I saw someone else tweet saying it actually makes sense because the Hawks were a surprise winner of the number 1 overall pick. So the Wizards at that point probably had higher odds to actually get it. So Hawks get it, which will set a good domino off immediately. Trae Young's going to get traded now because they're going to pick the number 1 pick's going to be their new star, whoever that is. The time is now to get the haul for Trae Young. He's going to get dealt somewhere. So the first Woj bomb of the offseason, I bet, is going to be Trae Young is on the block, and the Lakers, the whoever's, are going to be looking at trying to acquire him because they're not going anywhere with him.
Right.
They had one crazy run with him. It's fizzled like you know what ever since. They barely make the playoffs now. The time is now for them to move him because they have the number 1 overall pick and they can move him. So that's going to happen. And then we get number 2. And I'm with you. And I said this a few weeks ago when it was Trent, the season right before the season ended. And I'm like, I actually hope they don't get the number 1 pick because there's a lot of pressure on the number 1 pick. And it doesn't seem like that's somebody, at least at this point, maybe he'll turn out to be great, but no one thinks it's Wembanyama.
Right.
That's not even fair because he's so 7'5", and like freakish. But like even on a normal year with a normal sized human being coming in, like the hype is so crazy on that person that I think it's better served for Winger and company to not have that on their plate. And even though it's just number 2, it's not number 1.
That's right.
And I think that's important. So we'll see who they get. It's not going to be a big name that we know. I'll be interested to see which way they go. I am glad I'm glad they got this instead of what happened to Detroit,
of course.
So that's
second
better
year
than
in a
that.
row for them. Did you see that? That's the only team ever to have
second year worst record
and not only that had like the worst drop. The way they dropped to 5 or 6 or something like. I think it might have even worse than that.
I mean, honestly though, they have Cade Cunningham was 1-1. They have Ivy who was top 5 pick. Yeah. I mean, they really don't have many excuses. They should be pretty good, and they still have another high pick again. But for the Wizards, I'm with you. I'm actually glad it's not number 1. I think it takes a little bit of the pressure off, and whoever this may be, this isn't going to be world-changing immediately anyway, and we all know that.
Did you also hear all the Bilal talk too? Because he represented them at the lottery. That like Winger went out of his way to say like we love him. He's a great ambassador. Ever since he's shown up, like he's been everything we've asked him to be.
He's 19 years old.
I'm just finding it interesting. The Wizards are even doing the kind of calculated like things that the teams in the NFL do, and they're more calculated these days, and for them to go out of their way to be like, we love Bilal. Everybody loves Bilal. He's a great ambassador. It was like, oh, okay, you guys are really giving them some keys to the franchise here.
I know they haven't picked their coach yet.
Right.
It sounds like it's trending towards Brian Keefe keeping it.
Yep.
I actually think that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, they played. Obviously, the expectations are what they are, and even with the number 2 overall pick, and let's see what they do in the offseason. Like, is Kuzma back?
Right.
Maybe. Is Poole back? Maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, we'll see what happens. No matter what, I don't think, there's not going to be a diametrical change to them.
That's right.
So to me, what I saw in the second half of the season was they don't have a very good team. They're not going to win many games, but they were far more competitive than they were early in the season. The players played pretty hard for him. If you kind of watched them on social media, they started to kind of gel a little bit and get along. And I do think the development of Denny is something that I think is notable here. And so if that's where they end up going and just sticking with him, he's like their Spoelstra. He's like a lifer. He's just been around behind the scenes forever. He's a film nerd, and like clearly he's big on development of the players. Right. And I think that's where they need to be right now. They're going to be very young, very inexperienced. They only have a couple of guys that are primetime-esque players. Kuzma and Poole, really. And then Denny seems to be trending towards he's a full-time, we feel good about him starter type of player. Yep. Bilal's got a ways to go, and number 2 is not going to be the plug-and-play, he's going to change everything person. I actually think that's probably the right thing for them to do, is just to stick it out with him, but we'll see which way they go.
No, I agree. You also saw a little bit of the carousel moving last week, too. I don't know how much you were paying attention to. Like, Suns fired their coach. A couple others.
Well, that's because Durant, Beal called the owner, and, we've lived this. Beal had to talk to the GM and the owner. And now Durant's unhappy.
Of course he is.
Which
is actually probably good for them, I think. I think you need to recoup your assets somehow. Like,
I'd move on from him.
So would I. Like,
I would.
I think somebody's going to, because he's Durant, somebody's going to give you assets for him. Like,
a contender.
Yes, correct. Exactly.
I call him to the Heat. He's the one I think,
right.
All this, I saw the Pat Riley dumping on Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Pat Riley literally, openly, publicly dumping on Jimmy Butler was a surefire sign of, if we can get somebody better than him, we will.
His big thing at that end of year presser was availability. It was, we'd love to give Jimmy an extension, but he can't play. And then it was with some other guy. It was Hero. He was like, Tyler Hero doesn't start for us, but he's only available for 50-something games. He's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, it was awesome. And then there was another dude.
Well, he also did the other thing on Jimmy Butler, too, where he basically called him, he was like, shut up if you're not playing.
That one was more of like there was context that was needed there, because even he prefaced it by saying, I don't know if Jimmy was trolling there or not, but he needs to be quiet when he's not playing.
Yeah, but you don't normally publicly say those things unless you are already kind of on the, I don't know, man, maybe the marriage is over here.
The audio of it wasn't as bad as the quote, is what I'm getting at for that one, because I listened to it and it was more just like, if Jimmy was just trolling there, I get it. But if he wasn't, like, he just needs to keep his mouth shut.
He basically was either way. If you're not playing, shut up.
Right, exactly.
So I was like, okay.
There was another one, I guess one of their younger players, I don't know who it was. He, like, some comment either got made with one of their younger players or with him, and he was like, yeah, you can't get away with anything in this town, because he was like, I had somebody watching all of the young players at the bars in Miami. The quote was, you can't do anything in this town without me seeing it. As in, like, my boss Riley knows everything that goes on Miami
He's an
Beach.
all-timer. Yeah, I'm going to stick to my guns on this. I think Durant ends up there. That's where I think he ends up.
I think Dame could go there, too.
I think Riley's going to pull the same thing he pulled with LeBron. He's going to throw the rings on the table, and he's going to go, look, if they let him talk to him.
Right.
They're going to go, look, like, you only got a couple years left. You know we can maximize you here. You know how we play.
Yeah.
Like, you going to go with Looney Tunes over there one more time? Or you want to come here and know that we're going to play a style that can win? We need someone like you. Yeah. And, you elevate us, and that's where I think he's going to end up. That's what I think.
I think it could be Dame, too. I think you got to watch Dame as well.
He might get both of them.
Right.
I mean, if they move on for Butler, then all of a sudden they've got this big giant hole that they can fill with at least one of the two.
The good part with them, too, is it's not only Dame. You still don't know about LeBron, by the way. Still don't know about that, because I talked about this last week. The Suns might actually luck out here with Brad, and that Brad just has a contract, and they might be able to.
I think the Lakers are desperate. Well, what they're doing sounds so desperate.
And what I'm saying is, I think because there's all these guys on the move, the Suns are going, we got a massive contract. Who needs an evener?
The Suns ought to trade Beal if they can. They probably can't.
Right.
But in knowing that they probably can't, they should probably move. They should move Durant.
Yes, correct. Yeah, exactly.
He's older. Mm-hmm. It ain't happening. Yep. Your team can't get better the way it's constituted. Bring in the new coach all you want. Doesn't matter. Yep. Like, you will have 2 stars.
Correct.
You will. Exactly. Whatever the combination is, you will. So go recoup some of the assets, make your team better. Right. You got to move one of these contracts. And if you move Durant, then you can. He probably wants to get moved because he don't want to go through that again.
Yeah, no.
Rigmarole with that. And, what does he think of Brad? Suns, bruh.
Now
I'm starting to understand why he didn't want to come to D.C.
I never heard him mention Brad. Like, that's the funny part. They don't even talk about each other.
No. Why would they?
But, like, even praise. Like, no. I never heard Durant say, like, I love Brad.
No. I love Brad. Everybody loves Brad.
I told you, this was the nightmare when they traded him. I said, this sucks because Durant's playing with Beal, but it's not here. Yeah. Well, now I think we know why. I don't think Durant respects him.
If there ever was the timing of a number 2 pick to come in here, too, where they're just... It's better off that there's not a lot of pressure on this person because even if this person came in here, he can't diametrically change that.
Correct.
Even Wembanyama last year went to a really what was bad roster situation and couldn't alter them.
It took him 3/4 of the year for him to really
for him to start to get up now,
for everyone to start saying, okay,
now
this
he's
guy's,
right. Well, now it's like, oh god, you've seen it.
He's doing behind the back crap. And dunking on dudes.
Yeah, dunking on people, running the other side, blocking it, running the other side, getting an alley-oop, dunking it, and laughing at people now, and then telling them, I'm going to be the. So he's there, but even then, look around. Like their record was terrible because their roster isn't very good. Yeah. So this is good for the Wizards, I think. The timing. I mean, I'd rather have a megastar, obviously. But I think the timing of where they are in how they're trying to rebuild this, it's better that whoever comes in here is not seen as a savior. And that's what's going to be the case because none of them are.
That's right.
In fact, if we're sitting here and you don't know who the number one pick is at this point, that ought to tell you everything you need to know about this class.
Oh, the first.
If you can't name, if there is actually a literal question about who the number one pick is, that's a problem.
The first thing I did was go look at mock drafts. They're all different. Yeah. Like not just one or two different. Like guys getting 1 or 10 in certain mock drafts. Yeah. Nobody knows anything right now.
Nobody knows anything, and that's a bad sign.
Yes.
That's a really bad sign. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll get into the NBA playoffs next. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Bonjour. Bonjour. Bonjour.
How much French did you have to speak?
You know what? I was actually somewhat picking it up, at least reading it, and I couldn't really
speak.
Not really at all.
Yeah.
But I was somewhat picking it up. Like I'd read things and somewhat understand what was going on there.
They kind of like, if you try it, they don't really care. Like,
I didn't really try. I knew I couldn't pull it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Right.
Yeah. Paul. That's what I'd sound like to them. Paul.
Bama.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel a little French though. I like the whole. I used to be Vegas. Now
Did you use
I
my
think
tip of using Google, the Google app or whatever with the translate? No, you didn't use that. Okay.
Not really. I just figured I'll figure it out.
All right.
We'll all work it out together. I like their whole lifestyle thing. It's pretty good. I like it. No, not a lot of people are smiling. Everybody's wearing different stuff. No Lululemon Karens running around. Everybody kind of keeps to themselves. For a big city, it was noticeably quiet there.
Okay.
Which I liked.
All right.
It's beautiful there. I like it.
Right.
I may move there when I'm 70 now.
They don't have people screaming about sports radio on there? I mean, that's...
Not that I'm aware of. I did not check into French sports radio.
Can't make the jump, though.
How
mad would they get, though?
Last week, actually, the semifinals of the Champions League was in Paris.
Right, exactly.
I checked to see what the ticket prices were, and I had already really blown the budget on Taylor Swift and the rest of it.
Sure.
But I wanted to see. Sure. And, at 650 euros, I'm like, no. And then, we didn't go to that. And they lost. PSG lost. And then I was told by a friend yesterday who said, well, you're lucky you didn't go because they're notoriously bad losers over there. And he said, you and Archer would not have liked leaving that stadium.
You've seen some things.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
so I guess they are into that.
You would have been in their gear, though. I mean, like...
Oh, yeah. I would have rooted.
Yeah, of course. So,
I'm not rooting for Dortmund.
Like, nothing would have happened to you.
No. I would have rooted for them.
It would have just been College Park, France.
Yeah.
See a car get flipped, maybe a couch on fire.
Burn the couches.
That's right. It would have just been... It's international. Yeah. Everybody knows.
What couches? They don't have
we
couches
only do it
there.
when we win, though.
Yeah, that's right. They don't have couches there. The amenities also were everything you've heard about them. The shower pressure's weird. The beds are uncomfortable.
Okay, all right.
There's no such thing as air conditioning.
Yeah, that
There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff that's left to be desired. The American amenities aren't there.
Right.
But everything else is just lovely.
Okay.
And the whole, don't need to get a bagel at 8 a.m. is wonderful. No rush. No rush.
Yeah,
Nobody's in a rush.
You just hit a grocery store or something for the
morning.
They
beep
stuff?
a lot, but they beep appropriately. They're just like, go. And their streets are so oddly aligned that the lights are everywhere and the traffic flows are terrible. So to go 1 mile takes 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's what
not because of traffic, because everything's a sharp right turn down 1-lane roads.
That's the reminder of pretty much what I've heard is that American infrastructure is so much more new. Because by that I mean we're only 200 years old or 300 years old, where theirs is ancient times.
It's weird though. I mean, you're walking through history there. Right. It's so weird. You go to the Louvre.
Yeah, I love Paris.
Yeah, I love it. It's the best.
Yeah, just
you walk into the Louvre and it's not even an art museum. It's a history museum.
Yeah.
You walk in and you're like, what in the world? Then we went to Versailles one day and walked through that palace. Oh, that's something. Oh, and the Olympics are going there. So we saw a lot of the venues actually being built. And the equestrian
being built in May.
Yeah, not kidding. The equestrian ones are out in the gardens in Versailles.
Oh, nice.
So the flybys on that one are going to be amazing. Beach volleyball is at the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, Wow.
That's going to be cool. The opening ceremonies, we had this guide, and he told us it hadn't been decided where they're going to be yet. And I just looked at him, and I'm like, guy, that ain't flying with NBC. That was decided a year ago. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. He said
4 years ago.
He literally said this. If this happens, then I'll take it all back. He goes, he thinks the opening ceremonies are all of the contingents from the countries are going to be floating down boats down the River Seine. And I'm like, no chance on earth that that's happening. They're walking into a stadium like every other place. There's no way that they're doing that.
Take them to the stadium wherever they're at.
Maybe. And he was like, they weren't sure if they were doing it. And I'm like, it's May, buddy. NBC and Sky Sports.
Costas has the rundown.
Yeah, we already know what's happening. It's buttoned up.
Tarico's going through the rundown right now.
Yeah, the fact that the track for the show horses isn't ready is very troubling to me. And I bet you Sam Flood's going, what? Right now about that? Like, they're like, get on it, boys. You've had 18 years to figure this out. So we'll see.
Right.
Anyway,
okay.
Paris Lovely.
Got
it.
Got it.
All right. I saw, well, now maybe everybody's changing their mind because everyone's minds get changed really quickly. But once Minnesota was up 2-0 against Denver after winning 2 games in Denver, and they're, yelling at them like they were yelling at the Suns, yes. Everybody's like, oh my God, it's MJ2. And then they go and lose a couple of games, and we've already got the stop calling him Michael Jordan.
Right, exactly.
The NBA playoffs are funny. It can ping pong very fast how the series can
Days
flip.
apart, too.
Yeah.
Like days apart, the narratives are completely changed.
Now it's, that's the champs.
Right.
All of a sudden, that's the champs.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then the Jamal Murray shot in front of Kevin Harlan yesterday was outstanding.
It was awesome.
It was just picture perfect, chef's kiss, amazing. It was outstanding.
The takeaway last week, though, midweek at least, was basically no matter what happens in these playoffs, this is probably the real baton pass playoffs that we're going to look at, as in the Timberwolves,
we're done with the Warriors. They're done.
Yeah, like Ant,
the Lakers, as we know it, are done.
Right. Ant, though, is now, stud, Cat, of course, and then you also have what's going on. I'm trying to remember who else, younger teams. You have the
OKC.
Knicks. OKC's the other one, and then the Knicks even are making enough noise. They're not going to probably win that, but I mean,
no. They're not.
But
they may win that series. They might.
Or sorry, they'll lose to the Celtics regardless. But
I agree. I don't think anyone's beating the Celtics in the East.
But what everyone last week was this is really fun because it's all a lot of players that most of the country hasn't seen unless it's their team. So that was kind of the narrative last week was this is
I think
really
the Celtics have run into what has ended up being a good draw. They got the Heat without Butler. Now they got Cleveland, who, of the 3 other teams remaining in the East, I think actually has the best shot at them and not really much of one, honestly.
Don went off last night or yesterday, and they still
couldn't beat them.
Weren't close. So.
At home.
Yeah.
Right. So, I know Boston got run the other day, but, if they end up winning the series in 5, what's the difference?
Yeah, right.
Really, in the end, what's the difference? And I don't see a pathway for Indiana or New York to beat them. I'm definitely not Indiana. And maybe New York, the games will be loud.
Right.
In Madison. They'll be loud and Ben Stiller will be into it. But that's really about the extent of it. They can't score enough, I don't think. And in fact, they might not get through this series.
Right.
Honestly, if the refs weren't as ridiculous as they were in the first couple of games of that Knicks-Pacers, yes, I did watch. If they weren't as ridiculous as they were specifically at the end of one of those games the other day, the Knicks might be down 3-1 right now. I mean, they very easily could. So we'll see if they get through or not. The games being in Madison Square Garden, I expect them to get through and probably win. But this is not a budding start to what New York basketball is going to be for the next 5 to 10 years. If they don't get another stud player, they'll just be this until they get sick of Thibodeau, who, grinds them down to play as hard as they do. This happened to the Bulls when he was with them. He's a really good coach. He gets them to play really, really, really hard. And then after a while, it wears on all of them. So we'll see how long it actually lasts. I think Brunson's turned into an unlikely superstar, but he is one. But I look around at the rest of it and I go, where are they getting the points night to night to night? And if they don't play with the same defensive intensity or kind of live off of the vibe in that building, it's going to be hard for them to win the big ones. So, if they somehow got through to the finals, I think Minnesota or Denver would kill them, honestly.
Yep.
But I don't think they'll get through the Celtics. I don't think anybody will in the East. Once Milwaukee and Philadelphia went out, they got Miami without Butler. They got Philadelphia going out because of all the injuries, really more than anything. They got Milwaukee going out because of all the injuries. Those are the only teams that could really beat them. So once they were gone, this is all. I mean, the East is a waste of time. Honestly, it's a waste until we get to the finals. Boston's going to be there, and we'll see who they play because the West playoffs are very intriguing. The fact that the Mavericks are up in that series. Kyrie's back. He disappeared for a while for a lot of reasons, but I think you should not forget what kind of killer he was.
Of course,
with LeBron. He was as big a killer in those series, in those finals, in those playoffs when they won together. And now, it's been a lot with his story, but he's back and as good as he's been, and Luka's a superstar, and it seems to be enough with the experience that they've had to give this very talented but very young team a run for their money. Tonight's going to be everything because I got a hard time buying OKC winning 3 straight to win that series. I got a hard time buying that. So they better win and even that thing up, and then they're probably okay. And then we'll see who they get because those other 2 teams might be the best 2 teams remaining in totality, even better than Boston. But I do want to go back to the MJ thing. Guys,
it was pretty ridiculous for 2 days.
He's great. He really is. And he might be turning into, before our eyes, best player in the NBA.
Yeah, for sure.
But if we weren't allowed to compare Kobe to him, you are not allowed to compare him to him. And did you see the Barkley bite last night?
Yeah.
Where Shaq was like, I think he's him, and he was like, he's close to him. How? Because they're black.
Yeah.
It was.
It
was pretty amazing.
Right.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Slow down. I hate the whole he's the greatest ever thing. Really? Because they haven't done anything.
That's right.
Until now. And I think he's awesome. And he that Phoenix series is going to be the launching point of I've taken over for you. And we know Steph's best days are behind him. LeBron's best days are behind him. Durant's best days, he just vanquished him. We'll see where he ends up next year. He's standing there next to Jokic and Luka and a couple of select others as best player in the NBA. And at his age, then we don't know what the ceiling is, and we don't know how good they're going to be, and we'll see if they keep that team together because they got weird ownership strife going on. And we'll see what ends up happening here. But best series of the playoffs is now turned into this. And these last 3 games of Denver, Minnesota is going to be everything in the NBA playoffs. I think whoever wins this is going to be in the finals, honestly. I got a hard time buying Dallas or OKC beating either one of them. So it feels like Boston's going to be there. You're watching the other NBA finals now. Denver, Minnesota. It's rare. All the old adage was the NBA playoffs really start in the conference finals. Not this year. It's in the conference semifinals with Denver and Minnesota. Whoever wins that and then gets Boston, then we'll get the final series.
The talk last week too. I thought Clinton Yates from the area. He was on with the morning show last week, and he made a good point on Friday that he was saying, the most important guy in that Denver-Minnesota series is Tim Connolly. He's like, here's the guy that built that team, went somewhere else and said, I need to build a team to beat the team that I built. And right away, they're defensively really, really sound. Now, granted, this was when they were up 2-0, but, it was pretty much saying, that guy knows that team better than anyone else. Of course, he has a bunch of guys that you probably have never heard of on them because he knows all of their pros and cons.
I'll tell you what, if I was this new Suns owner guy who obviously screwed up here, Connolly's contract's up. And they have weird ownership things going on there. So
and he hasn't been afraid to obviously jump ship either.
Yeah, I think that guy's going to be in heavy demand. And I think there's a lot of teams that will look at that. In fact, if I were the Lakers, I would take a very strong look at this. Because I think if you bring someone like that in, it gives you the permission structure to move off LeBron.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I think they need to get a permission structure to do it. Because I want to talk about that next. The things that they're talking about doing, from the coach to drafting his son to all these things, are oddly desperate for what might be the best brand in sports.
Correct.
And I don't understand why they're doing it. We'll talk about it next. Bray, watch the show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. All right, let me talk about the Lakers here for a minute. So they are, let's see, Yankees, Cowboys, Lakers, so many bigger brands in sports. I think the brand's bigger than the players that ever come through there. I love LeBron. He's great. He's an all-timer, obviously. Best days are behind him. He clearly forced the firing of another coach again. They went to the Western Conference Finals last year, but whatever. I'm not going to sit here and judge.
They won the in-season tournament, Bram.
They did. I have no... Didn't the mayor point that out and then had to walk it back because everyone thought the mayor was trolling them, but she actually wasn't trying
That's
to.
Right. Yes.
She was like, the season didn't end the way we want, but at least we won the in-season tournament. And we're like, oh my God, is the mayor trolling the Lakers?
No, she was just
she's just not a big fan.
She was just picking up what Adam Silver was telling her to.
That's right. She's like, I'll hang the banner for you guys next to all the other ones.
Well, remember they had to do like a special banner because they couldn't make it look better than the real championship. So,
Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaq, in-season tournament, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson.
No. So all they did was they made it like a varsity banner. So there's like room for other years on it.
Yeah.
So it's really small.
So I don't I think in situations like this, when you've got that type of brand, that you don't need to ooze desperation. Mm-hmm. But that's what it feels like they're doing to me. It actually feels that way for a few years now. LeBron James has clearly been in control of the team. And what he's proven to me is that he's a terrible general manager.
Yes.
Just
absolutely.
terrible at it.
Yeah.
Terrible. And this is the good news for when he retires. I don't think anybody would take him seriously to be that. However, I do believe he will probably buy the team in Las Vegas. Yeah. And therefore, if he chooses to be the GM, he will make himself that. And hopefully he'll have enough, he'll look in the mirror enough to realize he's not good at it. Because look what's happened to that team. And it's all in the behest of things he wanted to do.
That's right.
The best one was the Russ trade, which was preposterously terrible and was horrible for them. And then what did he do? Threw Russ under the bus.
Yep, exactly.
As if he didn't have anything to do with making it happen in the first place. Mm-hmm. If I'm Rob Pelinka, I'd quit because, what's the point?
Right.
At this point, what's the point? You have no control over any of this. Whether you wanted Darvin Ham back or not doesn't even matter anymore because LeBron's going to control it. And they're doing two things that are amazingly oozing desperation. So they've openly said they would draft Bronny James.
Yep.
And this is a player who averaged 5 points a game playing at USC last year.
And they had to placate, or they had to get the media to start saying he's a defensive NBA player. Like, you already knew, following the narrative, they're trying to spin it.
So are the Lakers seriously going to use a draft pick on him?
Which they don't have a lot of, by the way.
Which they don't have a lot of because they've made a lot of poor trades in recent years. So I'm going to go with, because why? Because they want to placate LeBron James to have him extend his career there. And then secondarily, they fired the coach, so they're looking at a new coach. LeBron James has started doing a podcast with J.J. Redick, which I've seen clips of, and everyone seems to say is pretty good, actually. I haven't seen a whole one, but I've seen clips of it, and I'm sure it is good. I mean, these two guys obviously know the game, so I'm sure it's great. And now all of a sudden, he's the front runner to get the job to be the head coach of the team, which I know is not that abnormal these days. There are a lot of players. Like Steve Nash went straight from playing into coaching. That didn't work out very well, but he did. Right. Jason Kidd basically did it. Has now had a long career doing it, and others have as well. Ty Lue went from playing to coaching. Darvin Ham, for that matter, player to coach. But there seemed to be at least a little bit of a separation. J.J. Redick's never coached in the NBA on any level. I love what he says on TV. I think he's been terrific at it. He clearly is a lifer. And then now he seems to have cozied up to LeBron James to the point where it's one thing that they're doing a podcast. It's another thing that they're actually seriously vetting him out to be the next head coach of the team because LeBron likes him today. Right. I mean, is that guys, you're the Lakers. Well, at some point you need to look in the mirror and go, we're the Lakers here. We need to start making decisions as if we're the Lakers and not some team that is desperate to hang on to anybody because we've never been desperate for anybody because we don't need to be because we're the Lakers.
They're the only team in the NBA that is on their own level. There's no one else.
No.
Players don't want to go play for Boston, despite how historic it is. Players don't want to play for Miami. Like, they do,
everybody
but it's not
wants
the same.
To play for the Lakers.
They're the only team. And yet they're stuck.
It's an incredible place to be. It's an incredible brand. Mm-hmm. Of course it'll always be important.
Right.
What? You don't need him.
It's like
the point. You already won with him. You don't actually need him any longer.
It is like if Jerry was being controlled by someone in Dallas. And you're kind of like, nuts. What are you guys doing?
What are you doing?
And that's the only thing, I don't understand.
Yeah, Jerry's always, you may not like the things they've done, right? But Jerry's always, we're the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We're going to make decisions, and in the end, we're the Dallas Cowboys.
Right, exactly.
You're not going to agree with everything we do, but we're not placating anybody here. We're the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
The Lakers aren't doing that. The Lakers are acting like they're desperate here. Now, I'm not suggesting they should get rid of LeBron James or but what they need to do is start getting organizational control and remind themselves he's a player on their team. They're not treating him that way. They haven't.
And you're also canceling out that factor of being the Lakers. Players, like, there's a good percentage of players that are like, I'm not going to go play with him because the second something goes wrong, I'm out. I'm shipped off of the island.
He throws everybody under the bus.
Yes,
everybody.
exactly. And so
including Darvin Ham.
Right.
I saw a clip of Wilbon going off on him and basically yelling at LeBron, going, take some accountability. You're the ones that lost.
Yes, exactly.
And you're yelling at him. What are you yelling at him about?
Right.
And again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some expert on his coaching ability, but it's so plainly clear that LeBron does not want to take responsibility for literally any failure whatsoever, that he blames literally everybody.
It's also
so to JJ Redick, I would say this to you. Not that I would say turn down being the coach of the Lakers. Go take it if you want that job. But just remember, if you start 3-7, he will blame you.
Right, exactly. And the funniest part, too, was if the Lakers start sniffing around and a coach might want to go there, we would hear about it or not hear about it. Last week it happened fast where apparently, like, they started sniffing around Jason Kidd, extension right away. The Mavericks gave him an extension. Same thing with Ty Lue, because Lue obviously coached him in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Right away, it was like, Ballmer's going to pay whatever the hell you think that you can afford with him.
Yes.
Don't even try it.
I think he's a very good coach, Ty Lue.
I agree. I agree. And I think in Lue, what he did too was he put LeBron in the spotlight all the time in Cleveland, even though, he and Kyrie were on the same level, I would say. Yeah. So I think what happened too is the league real fast was like, you are not poaching our guy. Or I think coaches were going, I don't want to go to L.A., so give me the extension here so I don't have to be like, I don't want to go play.
Because they're going to pay me whatever it's going to take.
Right. So like, just give me the extension so I don't have to say I don't want to coach LeBron James, and then I'll, everyone gets sent on him.
And then here's the other one, okay? And this is for JJ and all of them. Let's say you do placate him and you do draft his son.
Right.
He's going to dictate how much he plays.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Just think about that for a second. He is, and you know what? That may end up being the right decision, and it probably won't be.
Exactly.
So he's going to put his son in a situation to be a liability for his own self-esteem because he's decided he needs to play a certain amount and be profiled in whatever certain way that he wants him to be profiled.
Right.
I mean, he's not even covert about any of it. But the amazing part to me is that the Lakers fall for this, but they've never needed to. They're the Lakers. And I'd love to see them wake up one day and go, that's enough of this.
Yeah.
And if he wants to leave, let him go. Like, honestly, it's time for a reboot anyway.
That's right. Right.
You're better off. You still have Anthony Davis on your team.
He,
it's not like you don't have a top-tier, top 10 player for however many more years that will be. But you do. So you do have a building block there, and you're the Lakers. Players want to play for you. You will get really good players. That will happen for you. You don't need to draft them and do this. You don't need to do the process.
Yep, right.
You're the one team at sports that doesn't need to do that.
That's right. And in fact, I would say this too with LeBron. You can get him on a sign and trade. So you can actually get some assets back from him. Yeah. You have him sign a 3-year contract until he's 40, 41, whatever the age is going to be. And you can flip him somewhere. And then there's so many stars, by the way, that we just talked about. You've got Brad with the big contract. You got KD. You have Dame, who probably wants out. You might have Jimmy, who wants out. Yeah. Like, there's a bunch of stars out on the market this offseason. Yeah, exactly. Where I think, too, you go, we have LeBron available in a sign-and trade. Yeah. We need a trade partner or two, and you could probably get someone back.
You know what? Like, he's probably going to go, I want Trae Young on my team now. Right. Because he's going to be available.
Right, exactly.
And he goes and gets him. Yeah. And he's going to throw him under the bus. He throws up these logo shots that miss by a mile. He's going to start throwing him under the bus. And JJ Redick's going, what am I doing here?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
When he has Trae Young, LeBron, AD, Bronny James, and
it's a clown show.
Rui.
It's a clown.
Right?
That's right, yeah.
And there's no offense.
Of course.
Like, who's the point guard? Who knows?
Yeah, right.
Whoever wants to bring it up. Ridiculous. All right, we'll be right back. Bram, watch the show. ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, let's talk about the Commanders and what I missed. I missed a lot.
Did you miss a lot?
Well, I was having some major FOMO on Jaden Daniels' debut.
Yeah.
So that happened to be I was away last week, and it turns out that when I bought these tickets to Taylor Swift, the team was maybe 2-4, something like that, 3-4. They weren't even that bad at that point. I think they were 3-3 at that point.
Yeah, we still had Terry kind of saying,
I should look this up.
You should look at your timeline. Yeah.
When I bought these tickets,
you didn't
to
think
Taylor
they were picking
Swift,
second overall.
No, they might have been like 3-3 at that point. That might have been after the Atlanta win, something like that. They were like, believe it or not, they were 500 at that point in the season. So I could not have envisioned that the rookie minicamp would involve, hopefully, the franchise quarterback.
Right.
So all I saw were clips. I wasn't part of the throng. I saw many people showed up to it. So I had a little bit of FOMO in France the other day going, I wish I was there for day one with him, obviously. I'll be out there tomorrow for the mini camp that's open.
You also missed Numbergate over the week.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
So, I was aware, not that anybody wasn't, that he wanted number 5.
Right.
And in my opinion, if there ever was a punter outside of Sammy Baugh, that because people forget that part about Sammy Baugh, that his number and his name could go up on the Ring of Fame if there ever was one, and I would advocate that it probably should.
His name definitely should.
Yeah, but he wore number 5 for the majority of it, so. That's fine.
Right. Okay, sorry.
We're not retiring his number.
Sorry, I forgot the Ring of Fame here also has the numbers on them, but it doesn't mean it's a retired number. Sorry. That's.
Well, I know we're retiring numbers now, but I don't believe Tresses will get retired.
Correct. Okay.
No offense.
Cool. That's what I was getting at. I
don't even want to see the waterworks on that one if it does, but whatever.
But yes, we're on the same page.
So, I knew this would be problematic for all the reasons that he described, and I thought were valid.
Yeah.
For anybody who thought, he's just the punter, give him the number. He's been a team captain here. Mm-hmm. He's one of the longest tenured players. In fact, he might be the longest tenured player.
Yeah, he's the longest tenured player by far.
Remaining.
By far, yeah.
He's for a punter, he's extremely popular here.
Personable too. Yep.
Really, he really is. I love Tressway. I'm glad, he's been here for as long as he has. And as bad as their offense has been for these last few years, he's been one of the most dynamic parts of the team, unfortunately.
I made an argument last week that over his whole tenure here, he probably is the most important player per game. Like, maybe not positionally, but the reason they're in some of these games is because he's pinning someone deep a few times a game, that games don't look as out of hand as they should be sometimes.
Yeah. So, so I know this was a little more complicated than I think, it wasn't just the average punter than where they just go, give him the number, dude, which may have happened. So, I wasn't surprised. And then by the end, I saw the video and I saw him crying about it and talking about it. I liked the reveal and all of that stuff. And I also do think it's the right thing to do.
Correct. It is.
I do.
It is.
This isn't just anybody. This is the number 2 overall pick. I do hope that he, carries that torch to whatever degree that is, because, Tress is a Pro Bowl player and one of the best punters in the league. And so hopefully we have somebody wearing that number and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I hope that ends up being the case. And I'm glad that it happened. It's going to be weird for him. It's going to be weird to call out his number. I'll make note of it in the preseason for sure, obviously. But I do think the right thing happened here. I think we want to make this person, he's very important. Not that Tress isn't, but he is. And I think everyone understands that, as comfortable as possible here.
Yeah.
And I think that's the object. And if that's what if he didn't care about the number, then I'd be like, then go pick another number.
Yeah.
But he did. So I do think the right thing happened here, and I'm glad Tress complied. Because it looked like it was not easy for him to give it up.
Well, there were layers here, and I loved his quote because he said he got it from his wife. And because he said, man, I'm going to win the captain. If I get to be a captain again, that C gets filled in. It becomes gold. It's that gold patch after you become captain, I think, for your 5th year. Mm-hmm. And his wife said, well, what do you think you were captain because of the number? And that's what got him really emotional, was it's the person, not the number.
That's
so
right.
it's a little bit easier to part with. But
he's a leader, and we're asking you to do something in the name of leadership.
Yeah.
And, it is unusual because he's a Pro Bowl player at his position. He's the longest tenured player here. So it's not like we're just asking anybody to do this. And I think that needs to be taken into account. But I think he's doing, and I hope he feels this way, that he did the right thing.
There are a couple other layers to this, too, that I talked about, but I'll talk about with you. And one of them is, there's not a warehouse of Tressway jerseys. They don't exist. People buy them custom. There's a lot of them at the stadium. Don't get me wrong. I would call it the 4th or 5th most popular jersey, easily. There's a lot of number 5s. But people get those customized. So there's not a warehouse of them. It's not like there had to be this exchange of cash, right? And the NFL knows whatever Jaden wears, they're going to sell a crap ton of them, right? Number 2, the most ideal situation here is, let's say Jaden Daniels pans out and what we think he's going to be. Number 5 gets retired. And everyone's going to remember you were the one that gave him that number in the end, too. If this all goes to plan and Jaden plays
Let's not get ahead of ourselves and retire his number before he's played a game.
But I'm saying the best case scenario would be in 15 years when Jaden hangs it up and maybe has a championship and an MVP or something like that, everyone's going to remember, hey, remember when Tress gave him that number 5? You're synonymous with that number no matter what happens from here on out, too. And I think that does matter a little bit here. Like, you gave it up because of the potential of what we're staring at the face in here.
Yes. So I'm excited to go out there tomorrow because I want to see him. And I didn't get a chance to see it in person. And I think it's just different. When you see the guys in person, you just get a better feel for it. I mean, I know they're not really practicing.
Still.
Yeah. The other thing with Jaden, obviously I don't want to go off of clips that I saw of him, but I did talk to Keim and he was like, it's everything that you've, thought. But he goes, again, it's May and, they're not really practicing. And he's, throwing a few passes here and there. So until we see him practice, it's hard to really, know off the bat, like what's going on. The other thing that happened with him was he and Malik Neighbors revealed that they had a bet with one another over who would be the offensive rookie of the year. And, because they're both top 10 picks, they both have a more than reasonable shot to get it.
Sure.
I think Jaden's is more likely, knowing what the quarterback situation is up there in New York, but who knows, right? Whatever. Well, as it turns out, they're not allowed to do that.
That's right. Yes.
So,
as you would know, actually, the gambling policy.
I got a story about that one too to tell you about in a second. But but no. And what I'm glad is the NFL didn't come down on them.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Because they could have.
Yep.
And in light of some things that have happened in other sports lately, like in the NBA and MLB, they could have. Now, neither one of those things that happened in the NBA and the MLB come anywhere near the level of seriousness of this. This is far more, I think we understand, this is far less nefarious than those other things that were happening.
Correct.
But the NFL could, as a message and a reminder, done something.
That's right.
Probably just fined them or something like that. But they didn't, and I'm glad that they turned the other cheek to it. And I'm glad that Jaden had to go, it is now my understanding that we cannot do that, and that is now off.
Right.
So they learned quickly how serious the NFL is about this stuff, and I'm glad that that is now gone and out of the way. When I saw that pop up that he said it, I went, that's not going to play.
Right, exactly.
Because I know how serious they are about this stuff.
And I actually liked Jaden's tone on it real quick, too. Like, he did not joke around about it. It was like, nope, we got an education on the gambling policy, so, yeah, we called it off. Like,
so, on that, since you said, I bet you have some stories about that, I have one about that just this week, actually.
Oh.
So, I do not bet on anything. Mm-hmm. I just don't do it because I don't want to ever get in trouble.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
So, the Kentucky Derby was last week.
Sure. Yeah.
It was Saturday. We were flying to France. And actually, during the race, we were flying. So I didn't get to see it. So I would have, in the past, I'll never do it. My point is, I'll never do it online.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
I'm allowed to bet on horse racing, but I'm not going to do it online.
Sure.
I'm never betting on football, obviously, but I won't do it online. But in the past, I either would have gone somewhere to watch it, maybe gone to the track place to bet on it, whatever. It's one of my favorite things. I didn't this year.
Yeah.
This is the one year where I'm like, if I was going to bet on a long shot, it's that one.
Oh,
and he won. It's just such karma that the one time that I called the long shot to win that race is the time that I didn't actually place a bet on the race.
Of course. That's how gambling works.
Yeah.
Every time you say something and then don't do it.
My cousin last night, Mother's Day brunch, was like, thanks for the tip. Because he was like, who do you like? And I said, I like 3 horses. I'm like, these 2 that the price won't be very good, but if you want to take a shot on the long shot, this is the one I would take.
Yeah.
And he's like, thank you. 20-something to 1.
Yep, right.
Furious. One time.
Well.
Let's see. What else happened? Johnny Newton foot surgery.
Yep.
Okay, so that happened over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Other foot,
yes.
Had this fracture. This is weird. Had this fracture, played with it. Mm-hmm. Got surgery.
Yep.
Why he's not practicing now. They check him out. Same thing. Other foot.
Right.
So that's weird. I wonder if there was a genetic thing going on there. That it was in both feet. That's unusual. I don't know. But that's a very unusual revelation. And it also means we may or may not see him, well, I hope in training camp.
They said he should be
ready.
ready.
They didn't do a timeline on him, so I don't know. So we are going to have to slow our roll on him about what kind of role he's going to have. Let's see when we get to late July and see if he's even available to practice at that point. Obviously, they're going to take it easy on him. The good news is he played with this thing in the other foot last year. Well, he played it with it in both feet, obviously. Yep. He did. He played through it and was the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. So it doesn't sound like it's something that anyone's overly concerned about. And they did this, it sounds like, preemptively to avoid any kind of problem down the road. So hopefully he heals quickly. But the whole idea of the three-headed monster with him, Payne, and Allen, we might need to put on hold a little bit.
Well, it also sounds like, too, maybe that's why he dropped. Like, I know nobody went with that correlation, but, I mean, these guys all have physicals, especially someone like him. Not like quarterbacks weren't doing it this year, but I'm sure he had physicals with all these teams. Maybe that was something they were looking at, and maybe even the Commanders were going, that's something that's fixable, you know? And then once they actually really got him in-house. So, I mean, to me, not that big of a deal.
So they did that one. Then came the T-shirt. All right. Dan Quinn.
Can I tell you, when I saw it on my phone, I literally said, oh, God. Out loud. No, because I knew what was about to happen afterward.
That's true. I knew what was about to happen, too.
Not at the shirt. Like, I've seen a bunch of bootleg shirts, and that's one of them. But I was like, oh, this is... You just let QAnon back in the room. That's what's happened here.
Okay, so he wears the shirt. The team has gone out of its way to tell everybody they didn't make that.
Right.
Nobody made that.
He acted on his own volition.
Yes. He did this on his own. Where he got it from, we don't know.
Bots would love to tell you where they got it from.
Yes. All the Russian bots told me where they got it from. 8 million bootleg stores have this shirt now.
Yep.
Who knows where it really came from? Mike Jones tweeted it came from the team. Did you see that?
I didn't see Mike Jones said that.
He had to retract it.
Yeah, okay.
He said initially it was someone in the equipment room gave it to him and then had to retract that it wasn't.
Okay, and Mike plays it by the book too, so that's why.
Well, the team was like, we did not do this, because here was my reaction when I saw it. I went, what are they running up the flagpole
Exactly,
here?
That's what I thought too.
Like, not that they're going back to Redskins. That's not happening. We know that. But are they already starting kind of soften the ground for the look, the feel, the kind of karma of the old thing is on its way back? And that's what I thought initially. And then I was told, because I asked, they're like, no.
Got it.
No. They said this was, he put it on. It maybe wasn't the greatest idea to wear that, you know. And what I thought was really unusual about it was the coaches wear team-issued things.
Correct.
They do not wear things from the outside, even if they do like them.
Yep.
So I'm going to call this one, I don't know, because I was like, when he wore it, I went, what is going on here? But then the team has been so adamant that they had nothing to do with it. It wasn't a run up the flagpole. It wasn't to send a message. It wasn't any of that stuff, that he just liked the shirt, he wore it, and it was a mistake.
So there's a company that I have followed for a while now, I've shown you them before, that sells the used gear from every year. And that includes the coaching stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, there are shirts that, like, Ron wore where it had, like, Be the Grenade on it, right? They weren't selling that shirt to the fans, but this organization has gotten it and they sell it for charity, right?
Yeah.
There was other ones where, you know, Ron had a shirt that said APE, like attitude, preparation, effort, I think. Had like the Commanders logo with maybe some barbells on it for like the weight training, right? Same thing. They don't sell that to the fans, but coaches have it. Now, my first thought when I saw Quinn wearing it was, who else is wearing it? Because you don't just get one of those. But no one else was.
No one else had it.
And so when the team does say he acted on his own volition, I believe them at that, because you tend to, if you get those shirts that I'm talking about, the whole coaching staff and some players get them. And then you see a bunch of people wearing them and you go, oh, I would like one of those. But the fact that he was the only one wearing it, I do believe the team in this instance, because I don't see anyone else wearing it.
So I at first I'm like, what's going on here?
Right.
What are they softening the ground for? Mm-hmm. Is what I kind of thought. Yeah. And because he wore it at an official thing.
Yeah, right.
Like
very early in the tenure.
Yeah, it's like they have to know there's going to get a reaction to this. Yeah. Like, they're not stupid. Like, they have to know that. Like, Sean DeBarbieri knows. Yeah. There's like, it's his job to know this. He's the PR head there for the team. Like, of course he knows this is going to draw a reaction. But so I'm like, it had to be done purposefully. But like, go back to originally just last summer after they bought the team, and then they were casually using the name Redskins all the time. Mm-hmm. Josh Harris said it. Mitchell Rales was saying it. Mark Guine was saying it. Magic was saying it. Especially the three who are locals that grew up going to Redskins games, and they were just casually talking about the glory days of the Redskins. And it got to the point where people had to ask them. And I remember Sam Fortier said it like, you guys, he said it to Ron, like, you guys are just so casually throwing that name around. And Ron had to be like, we're not trying to insinuate anything here. And then the owners, who don't say much about anything, had to go out of their way to say on the record, that name is not coming back.
That's right.
We just want you to understand that name is not coming back. I believe them. I don't believe, and that's why this was a bit of a surprise. I will say, though, the other reaction I had to it was, I liked it.
Oh, yeah, of course. No,
I really liked it. I'm not going to lie to you. I liked it.
These types of logos have been around. People make their own. Like, there are people that have the O's bird with the feather sticking out, and people love that because it's a cross of really what the time was in this city, right? When there was only the O's in the Redskins, essentially. Right. Like, trust me, I love it too. My red flag went up, though, was you put the Commander's word mark on it. Like, that's like the one thing you cannot do if it's not official.
I'm sure their legal department is having a rough day today. Because they have to go shut down 8 million Etsy shops today.
Right. But it's also a logo that's not theirs.
And that's where this is where Dan Quinn made a mistake.
Right.
Is he opened up a can of worms that I know he didn't intend to, but like he did for that side of the building that has to now shut this down.
Yeah, right.
One is the PR part of it where they just have to say, we're not going back to that. We're not going back to the imagery. We're not going back to the name. He wasn't doing it to try to send a message to anybody. He wore the shirt because he thought it was cool.
That's right.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And then the legal department goes, all the bots who started the stores that are selling the shirt and pretending they made it in the first place now they have to deal with shutting that down.
That's right.
So this was a can of worms that sucked for a lot of people in that building over the last 48 hours, which I'm sure Dan Quinn has been told about.
Yeah.
But then it just goes back to the underlying, why did he do it? Mm-hmm. And the reality seems to be, and I'm sure he's going to address it tomorrow, he just got it, liked it, and was like, a nod to the ex-players and just being like, hey, we want you back.
It's a combination of the old and the past, yes.
Yeah. And that's the funny part about it. I went, if they changed the helmet and add the W with the feathers,
pretty good look.
I kind of like it.
It's pretty good look, yes.
I kind of like it. It would be a marriage, assuming they went back to something that looked like the old look of the uniforms, and they put the W instead of the head logo,
right,
and put the feathers on it. Well, it's starting to look like it again. Right. And here come the Washington Warriors.
Dude, that's
right.
How long have I been chanting about that? Right. Because the imagery actually, I've always said this too. It's not like that Indian or the Native American that they had on the helmet was Chief Wahoo, right? Which was like a highly inappropriate 10 different ways type of logo. It was a realistic depiction illustrated by a Native American. It was everything you'd want it to be.
We don't want to relitigate this. It's so complicated because that logo was never intended to be offensive. And in fact, if you polled any Native American groups, you'd find out they didn't think it was.
That's right. Exactly.
It wasn't Chief Wahoo, right? It wasn't a stereotype. It wasn't that. It was never intended to be that way. That's why this is such a can of worms, because all of us who love the team go, yes, when they see it.
Right. Exactly.
We can't help ourselves but go, yes.
It's back.
That's us.
Right. It's back.
And it's not racist, and we didn't mean it that way, and we don't intend it that way, and it's meant with pride and fight and tradition and all those things and all the stuff that was taken away when the name left and the logo left.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those, we could put the feathers on there, right?
Right. It's what's
Who's
the
that
line?
offensive
What's
to?
the line?
What's the line?
What's the line? Yeah, exactly.
Since when are feathers offensive to anybody?
Right.
So
I'm with you. For the hours that we didn't know that the team issued it, I was going, this organization has been so calculated on every little thing they've done.
I was like, ballsy move, guys.
Yeah. I was kind of like, whoa, what is happening here? Because, I mean, that shirt, when I first saw it, I went, that looks a little too official for me to think it was by accident. And when the team came out, I was like, no, it was on him. And they were that fast to respond to it. Because, by the way, this team is never fast to respond to those things. Granted, that was under the old regime. The old regime wouldn't have acknowledged it. They would just let it run wild this week and then maybe release something.
I think this one, the team had to be careful about it.
Right.
And he went rogue.
Yep.
He got something in the mail.
Someone sent it to him.
He liked it.
Right.
He wore it.
Right.
This is also bad news. If you mail things to Dan Quinn, he'll look at it. So now you know this. Now you are aware if you mail him
Send
a package,
him a backwards hat.
he will wear it. Or he will at least look at it.
Correct. Yeah, right. That's true.
So no one's going through his mail. We now know that. Those weird taped up packages that just have a T-shirt in it, he's literally opening them, looking at it and going, I like this one.
This one looks good. I'm going to wear this one.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with naivete of he didn't realize the can of worms that was open.
Right.
But like the rest of us went, that's cool.
Well.
Which is, I don't apologize for saying that. I liked it.
No, it's a cool logo. No, like I've largely said I've wondered how this ownership group, because it sounds like eventually one day, not anytime soon, that there will be some kind of a rebrand. And you and I have talked that we think it's probably when they leave FedEx or Commanders Field now. When they leave Landovers.
I got to tell you, if they start winning, that's going to be interesting.
I agree 100%. But there's a way to do it.
Like if in a few, like we're like RFK is built and it's up in 5 years. Well, if they're a playoff team every year, they may not think about changing it that quick.
You could profit though if you do it right in the middle of winning. So
maybe not. All of a sudden, people like the name because they're playing in January every year. Who knows?
Right, but then all of a sudden, people love whatever the new thing is. You know, there's a difference there. Like that's what happened over the weekend. Was there was an outpouring from people.
Well, it was kind of like if you're going to do it now.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's that could be what happens. But I don't know. When I saw it, I was like, all right, that's a cool logo. Is that ever going to be real? Yeah. And I doubt it. I doubt it's going to be.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, the reaction is you should probably, but.
Right. I don't think so.
Right.
But, and, they've been adamant this was not a message or some kind of covert, let's test the waters on something that brings back the imagery again.
Sean is like, now I got to have a PR intern check what everyone wears before they go out to the field because I think that's what's actually got to happen now. Like, it's.
You got to remember, everybody in this building's new.
Right. Exactly.
They haven't lived this.
No, we went through this with Ron, where Ron didn't realize we were a smart fan base for a year.
Right.
And it was like, no, we're watching it, guy. Things are going wrong here. We understand why they're going wrong.
That's right.
Here's Dan's first moment of, that's a way bigger deal than you ever thought it was.
That's right. It is. Yeah.
And this happens. This happens with this market.
Yes, you have to remember everybody's new, and we are going to learn as we go.
Right.
And our fan base will tell you when you've done something right or wrong, and they'll yell it at you.
Correct.
And
loudly.
That's the good news about us, really, more than anything.
Right.
That's the good news about us. But it was fun. Boy, when I saw it, I went, whoa, look at that.
I instantly had a flashback.
When he put that shirt on, I'm so dying to ask him, when you put that shirt on this morning, did you think you would get the reaction that you got?
Zero chance. I bet you, to be fair, if he's wearing that one.
Was there even like a moment of like when you put it on going, maybe I shouldn't wear this? Like even a moment of it.
I bet you when he put it on, that was one out of a pile.
Probably.
There's probably more than
probably
one.
Got a box of them.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I'm not even talking that shirt. I bet you he's got multiple. Like, I bet you he has different designs.
There's a burgundy one. There's a gold one. There's a gray one. There's a black one.
Someone else sent him a Redskins shirt, I bet.
Yeah. Well, he probably, I would think, know better than to put that on.
But then he looks at that one and goes, oh, it says Commanders.
Well, actually, if he was wearing that, I think someone would stop him in the building and be like,
Sean wouldn't have let him out to practice.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You can't wear that. You might as well put on an evening gown. Like, what are you doing?
The PR, one of the PR staff would have yelled, yelped, like, ah! Go back, back, turn around.
Like, you can't believe their eyes.
And Scott's filming it, Yeah. ABC 7
That's
next
right.
day.
So on the T-shirt, I'm going to go with, okay, I believe you. This was just an honest mistake.
Yep.
And, well, mistake's a strong word for it. Because honestly, I think the people who love the team don't even see it that way.
Right.
That's the craziest part of the whole thing. Like, I think a lot of us who just love the team are like, that was cool.
Yeah.
Boy, I missed that.
Yeah, it was a nice cameo.
I missed that.
It was.
I hadn't seen it in a while. Missed that.
You've seen Marvel movies. It's the end credits scene where something really cool happens for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you get up and you leave.
Haven't seen that in a while.
That's right. I think
Look
it's
at
what it was.
Yeah.
The 5-second scene, you're like, oh, that's going to be in the next movie.
That's a good one.
That's what it felt like a little bit.
Yeah. What is the next movie? So I don't know. That's actually the question I'm most interested in hearing him address tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's going to be asked about wearing that shirt. He's going to have to explain himself.
Correct.
And, I hope he doesn't get too serious about it because it isn't a serious offense. But it's a really complicated one.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I think he found that out. And there's part of me that does wonder, why didn't anyone stop him?
See, that's what I have a question on, too. The only thing I can't think of is, as I said, coaches and staffs have their unique items that they hand out to coaches. Like, I've seen them. I bought them.
Yeah.
I own a few of them. But they're not for sale, and they're in-house only. And, like, Doc. So Doc used to get these really cool hats and shirts. I don't know if you remember them. But they said 365 on it. But it was within the yellow circle with the feather sticking out.
Oh.
And I think he grabbed me one. And I've had it. It doesn't really fit my head anymore. But it was, you could only get it if you worked for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think someone might have looked at it and just said, oh, the coaches have those. Like, I can't do anything about it. And then once they realized the S-storm that happened on social media afterwards and realized he was the only one wearing it, they're going, he did not order a bunch of those for the whole entire staff.
No.
He's only doing that for himself.
That was something. That was something. His first real pothole was that it's not a big pothole.
The funny part, though, is it is the opposite of what Ron would do, in that everyone would jump on Ron and be really mad about it. People were really happy.
In year one? What if it happened in year one?
Mm-hmm.
Rookie minicamp 1.
Yeah, right.
No pandemic, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Or what if he popped up on Zoom at rookie minicamp 1
He's
wearing that? I think,
Well, the name wasn't changed by then, so the timeline's weird. The timeline wasn't changed until August.
Okay, year 2, the name was changed. He couldn't have done it. But let's just say, for the sake of the argument, I think the same thing would have happened. If it was year 1 for anybody new under these scenarios, would there have been a freak out? And I'm just going to go with, he didn't realize the can of worms he opened with.
But that's what I'm getting at. It's just a can of worms. It's not a negative can of worms.
No, not at all.
That's what I'm getting at here.
I think largely it's a nostalgic one.
Correct. Yeah, exactly right.
Like, when he put that on, he said, that's cool. And he didn't realize how cool it was to all of us.
Right.
The problem is he's not allowed to wear it.
Yes, exactly. It's a corporate problem, not a public problem.
Correct.
And that's what I'm getting at here. It's not.
If you poll the people.
Yeah, right.
The people like
he wins the popular vote.
Oh, no doubt. But in the Electoral College,
not so much.
It's close to the swing states.
Yes,
Could go either way.
We're still counting.
Yeah, we're still counting. We'll let you know. We're not sure. Just don't.
There's a lot of connections we can make there.
No more jokes. No more jokes.
A lot of people monitoring the boxes.
Yeah. We don't need any dust-ups, okay?
Oh, wow. You went there.
Yeah, I did.
Look at you.
Right. Look at me. Back from France and feeling myself a little
Feeling
bit.
resistance over there. La resistance.
Yeah. All right, I'll be right back. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630, Sports Capital. What do you want to see Dan Quinn do tomorrow?
I said,
press conference?
I said, what if he's wearing a Redskins hat? But you don't know it's a Redskins hat until he turns around.
Backwards.
And then I was like, now we got more questions.
So, all right, he comes out. He can't wear it during practice because everybody would see it.
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
And then, no, actually, he's speaking before practice.
Before tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So, come into the press conference, put the hat on backwards real quick.
Yeah, and it only has the NFL logo.
You see an NFL logo.
So you're just like, whatever.
When he walks out of the room.
It's the Native American logo. Or it's the cursive R.
Oh, well, that would be great. And Scott screaming, "You're rolling on this, right?"
That's right. All the TV people are freaking out.
I want the full Redskins logo.
Okay. All right. Well, he could also. I own hats that actually have that on the back too. So it could.
Yeah.
Well,
he can't, but it'd be amazing.
It would be incredible.
I want him to wear that. Nobody notice it, and then he answers questions about the shirt, and it doesn't even acknowledge us.
Right.
And he's like, "Okay, guys, see you at practice," and walks out.
Yeah, and then that's what.
And then you get gasps. Ben standing. Nikki.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. No, Kimes will be,
Kimes will just be an exaggerated sigh.
Oh. Right. Then he'll look at me and be like, what am I going to do with this now?
That's all you got to talk about now.
Yeah. He's like, now my editor is going to make me, my editor's going to text me and tell me I got to write an article about a hat that he wore today.
Literally within 3 seconds of it happening, Schefter will tweet a video.
Yeah.
Here's Washington head coach Dan Quinn wearing a Redskins hat.
That's right.
And it just opens up this can of worms that you can't put back.
Then Mike Florio talks about all the court cases that'll be coming this way.
Florio.
Yeah.
Florio, kick rocks when it comes to this franchise.
I've had enough. We've all had enough.
Come on, man.
We've all had enough.
It's new owners. It's new vibes. Can you get on board with us, please? Or let them be bad before you knock them.
I do want to mention 2 changes that have happened over the last 48 hours. Eric Stokes is no longer part of the organization. He had kind of risen to the director of player personnel under Ron Rivera and stuck with the team through the draft.
Yep.
And this is not unusual, actually, at this time of year when a new group comes in, that there are parts of the staff that remain in place because there's such a short period of time to free agency and to the draft. And while Adam Peters and Lance Newmark were in charge of the personnel, they kept people in. And Eric Stokes is gone. I really liked Eric. I thought he did a very good job. I'm not really sure how much say he had in a lot of the decision-making, but I was sorry to see him go. I don't believe that was a surprise.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, not about his job, but like that it was a surprise that he was going to be let go. This is not unusual for new groups. You'll hear this around the league everywhere. After the draft is over, oftentimes changes like this happen.
That's right.
The other one I want to mention that came up today, and this one was surprising to me, and none of you are going to know who he is, except for the people who really, 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 really follow the weeds of the team. Mm-hmm. Malcolm Blacken has been on and off with the team for 25 years. His title was always something like player development, but basically he was kind of the liaison between the coaching staff and the players.
Okay.
He was a guy they could go to and talk to kind of off the record if they wanted to talk about what's going on.
Got it.
If there was an issue, he would be someone that he would give advice to. He also had the role of making sure they were in their beds at night, for curfews, things like that. I love Malcolm. Malcolm, I've known him for years, and he is a great guy and played a great role with the team. And I was very sorry to hear that he's not going to be back. And I don't know whether that was a surprise to him or not. I have to ask him if it was a surprise to him or not. But I was sad to see that because I've grown to really get to know him a little bit, and I was sorry to see him go. And I know that the players had a really good relationship with him, so I was sorry to see Malcolm go.
I have a little bit of breaking news from Schefter for you.
Dan Quinn is wearing a Redskins hat.
No, that's Jared Goff signed to a 4-year, $212 million contract extension.
Wow!
170 of it is guaranteed.
Jared Goff, 4-year, what?
4 years, 212, 170 guaranteed.
What's the signing bonus? Does it say?
Doesn't say what the signing bonus is. Highest paid Lion in franchise history.
4 years, 170 guaranteed?
Yeah, 212 total.
So that's what, 40-something million?
About
40-something?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little under 45? A little under 45?
42?
Yeah. 42, yeah, there you go.
42 plus, 42.5,
yep.
Somewhere in that number, 42 per year. Hey, that's what Dimes got.
Yep.
That's the going rate, actually.
He's better than Dimes, I mean.
So means Hendon Hooker ain't going to be playing anytime soon.
That's true, yeah, exactly. 100%.
He's probably like, anybody need another corner? He's probably called the Raiders.
Yeah.
I'd call the Raiders and be like, hey, man, y'all want a shot on somebody who looked pretty good last year?
Right, exactly. So.
Okay, so the Lions are all in for Goff.
I mean, those fans love him, too.
Yeah,
they're chanting about him. They were chanting him at the draft when that was happening. So, I mean, you got to
look. I'm happy for
when
him.
the fans are vibing with the above-average quarterback, you're fine. You're fine if you sign him.
Yeah. No, I think they did all right. I mean, what other direction are they going to go?
Right. Exactly.
They're not. Unless they want to start the clock over, but their picks are too low.
Yeah.
And now that Bo Nix is going 12,
right,
it's hard to get anybody. If that's what the party's going to be, you're going to have a problem getting anybody.
Yeah. Schefter just follows up with this: $444 million given to 3 players. Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Penei Sewell all got 4-year extensions.
So they're not kidding around.
Yeah. So for the next 4
paying
years,
their guys.
That's their core. Yeah.
That's their core. Amon-Ra St. Brown, to me, is he's their McLaurin.
Yep, 100%.
He's not he probably hears the same things there. You're not Devontae Adams. You're not Tyreek Hill,
right,
but he's really good.
Yep.
Like, really, really good. He's like their McLaurin. He's really, really good. Penei Sewell's maybe one of the best, if not the best offensive lineman in the game right now.
Yep, exactly.
So, all right, so they've kept their core together. And they're going to take the run with that, and they better pray to God that Caleb Williams isn't the greatest thing since sliced bread. Otherwise, it's all going to be money not well spent.
Schefter once again follows up. Next quarterbacks in line: Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, and Tua. So there's the next 4 he expects.
Who did he say?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence? I think I'm waiting that out if I'm Jacksonville. I'm not even. They must have picked. Did they pick up the 5th year option?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so they got time.
Yeah.
You play out this year, get the next year. Let's see what happens this year, and then at that point, you could make him play year 5 if it's the same,
Correct.
or you go, all right, we can talk to you now.
Yep. Dak, of course.
Dak, I think that one, the die is cast. I think there's a monumental opportunity for him to potentially go somewhere else. I would play that one out. I think Dallas is doing that. I mean, why would they give him the extension now?
I agree.
Unless he's willing to take a lower rate, then
right.
Okay, let's say he's willing to take that deal, the Goff deal, $42 million.
Right.
Would you then do that? See now.
That's a different question.
That's a different, right?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that part because I keep thinking Dak's still going to get 50 to 60. Well, what if no one else thinks of him that way?
The thing is if
they went to him and said, "Do you want the same thing Jared Goff just got?" I would actually argue that maybe Dallas should do that.
But Dak,
if he's willing to say yes to that.
I don't think he is because he's going, "Do you see what Kirk just got? I'm as good as Kirk."
Well, Kirk got, 45?
Right,
guaranteed for 2 years. After that, it's going to be Michael Penix's team. Come on. We all know that now. It's only 2 years guaranteed.
Yeah, but it was whatever the...
Kirk's also in his mid-30s. I don't know why everybody keeps freaking out about him playing there for 4 years. What are you talking about? Since when does anybody ever, live up to that? The only time the 2 years are guaranteed. He's going to be their quarterback for 2 years. I still don't think that... Don't get me wrong. That Penix pick was nuts.
Right.
But, for them. But... It doesn't. Kirk's not playing. Everyone who keeps saying he's playing there 4 years. No, he's not. What are you talking about?
Right. I mean, I think Dak is going, this benefits me how? Taking less money. That's all. That's all I'm getting at there.
Okay.
And then the next 2 he says is Jordan Love, and then there's Tua. Those are the next 2.
Jordan Love, I think, is going to get the money.
So do I.
Jordan Love really came on, was really good in that playoff game against Dallas, was not the problem against 49ers. In fact, they should have won that game. He's come on. I don't see how they go in any other direction other than to stick with him and keep building what they have. So I bet he gets it. Tua, if I had to guess right now, he could be there. I think if that coach ends up getting
they're going to have to
make
a choice. I think they're going to make a choice. It's either going to be McDaniels or it's going to be him. And it depends what that ownership group wants.
I think that McDaniel guy is going to sell them that I can do this with my own Brock Purdy.
Right. Yeah.
And if I'm them, I actually would give serious consideration to that.
Mm-hmm.
I would not pay Tua that kind of money.
Neither would I.
I think he's very good, and I think he'll be very good for a team, but I don't love him at $50 million a year.
Right.
I don't. I think that's so, and I think they've slow rolled this too because I don't think they intend to do it. But maybe they're saying the same thing. Do you want that Goff deal?
Right.
And if he turns that down, we'll play out the year. But if I'm McDaniel, I bet that system is so nuts with so much speed. I would argue, get me my Brock Purdy, and we'll be just fine here.
I agree.